President Trump virtually addressed the 75th meeting of the UN General Assembly on Tuesday. His pre-recorded speech lasted nearly 8 minutes. The president spoke at length about the coronavirus and called out China.
As we pursue this bright future, we must hold accountable the nation which unleashed this plague onto the world, China. In the earliest days of the virus, China locked down travel domestically while allowing flights to leave China and infect the world. China condemned my travel ban on their country, even as they canceled domestic flights and locked citizens in their homes.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping spoke shortly after President Trump. He did not respond to the president's criticism directly, but he said China would make coronavirus vaccines available as a global public good. The president's criticism of China's coronavirus response stands in stark contrast to what he said earlier in the outbreak.
China's working very hard. Late last night, I had a very good talk with President Xi. And we talked mostly about the coronavirus. They're working really hard, and I think they're doing a very professional job. They're in touch with our world organization, CDC also. We're working together, but World Health is working with them. CDC is working with them. I had a great conversation last night with President Xi. It's a tough situation. I think they're doing a very good job.
And Max Baucus is the former U.S. ambassador to China and former U.S. senator from Montana. He is also a longtime friend and supporter of Joe Biden, and he joins me now from Bozeman. Ambassador Baucus, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So we just heard President Trump express two very different attitudes towards China. What do you think has changed between then and now?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I think at the very beginning, President Trump had no idea that this virus is a vicious animal, frankly, that we're all going to have to deal with in the United States. And so he was kind of poo-pooed it, said it was a common cold, et cetera, then realized it's pretty bad. Early on, he talked about, she is a good friend doing a good job. And it got so bad, he changed his mind, and now he's done a 180 pivot, calling it the China virus, the Wuhan virus. And I think he's doing it partly, if not entirely, to help his presidential campaign, which is currently sagging.
Well, as you know, trade tensions between China and the U.S. have been an issue since President Trump took office, with both countries penalizing each other with billions of dollars in tariffs. What's the latest on trade negotiations between the two countries, and where do you see things going?
This is a somewhat of a delicate balance. The United States and China really need each other economically. We're joined together at the hip. We trade so much with each other, investment so much. Essentially, I think that both sides would like to keep the Phase 1 trade deal intact. It's the last remaining thread, frankly, in a Dufresne relationship. China is buying products from the U.S. We're hoping China continues to buy. President Trump especially hopes China continues to buy soybeans and other agricultural products, because that helps him in his reelection effort. So it's a double-edged sword. Neither side really wants to talk about it, but they want to keep it intact, because if that were to collapse, then that would cause even more problems for the two countries. Although it's interesting, because at the same time Trump is roundly criticizing China. She knows that, President Xi does, but he's letting it happen.
Well, how do you see the president's trade position with China fitting into his campaign strategy?
It's jobs. He's appealing to his blue-collar base, and he's by attacking China, basically saying China's taking away jobs. He's hoping that he'll shore up support within the Rust Belt of the United States and other blue-collar workers in the United States. At the same time, he does want China to buy our products. So but China is really being somewhat the adult in the room here by essentially not criticizing the United States near as much as we, in the United States, are criticizing the Chinese, because they want to keep this going. They want to keep it going in part because it helps the middle class in China. President Xi Jinping's power rests almost entirely on the degree to which the middle class in China continues to support them. And they'll continue to support him if their incomes are going up, if they feel pretty comfortable about their livelihood. Xi knows that, and so he's not going to jeopardize the trade deal.
I want to turn to another topic while we have you. You played an influential role in the debate over health care reform during your time in the Senate. What do you see happening to the Affordable Care Act in front of the Supreme Court?
This could be near catastrophic, at least from my perspective. The Affordable Care Act provided health insurance for tens of millions of Americans who previously did not have insurance. It's helped cut down costs. It makes sure that insurance companies cannot decline coverage based on pre-existing conditions. The real concern is that President Trump may get a new nominee on the court to replace Justice Ginsburg, get that nominee on the confirmed prior to the November 10th hearing date on the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act. When Justice Roberts upheld the act, it was a 5-4 decision. Justice Ginsburg, regrettably, sadly, is no longer there. It's now 4-4, and actually 4-3 because she's not going to be there. 4-4. And if President Trump is successful, he'll get a new justice on the court, and that'll essentially mean it's going to be a 6-3 court deciding the Affordable Care Act. It's a huge, big issue.
Would you think the Senate should move to vote on President Trump's nominee ahead of the election?
I do not. I do not. This is extremely serious new position on the court, which means that the Senate and the country should take time. Let's see who this new nominee is. Let's really have a very clear, exhaustive background check. It's just going to take time. It should not be rushed. It clearly should not be rushed. The more it's rushed, the more the people of the United States have even less respect for Washington, D.C. It's even more politics as usual. And I must say, too, that unfortunately, the court is becoming more politicized. In our country, the political bodies, essentially the congressional branch and the executive branch. But the court is not a political body. However, the court is now becoming more political. Nominees and senators decide who should be confirmed based more and more on politics. The media, frankly, plays into it by calling some justices conservative, other justices liberal, when in fact they often change their minds. But the problem is that we're going to get probably a very conservative pick by President Trump, and the probability is very high right now that the Senate will confirm that person prior to the election, and that means that the new justice will then be sitting on the court to hear the November 10 ACA case. And I'm afraid that's going to end up being 6-3.
In our final minutes left here, Ambassador, let me ask you about someone you've known a long time, Joe Biden. What do you think he would bring to the White House?
Joe Biden is a wonderful person. I've known Joe Biden for 40 years. He is very decent. He's very smart. He cares. You get what you see. He's honest as the day is long. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's going to bring civility back to Washington. He's going to bring cooperation back to Washington. He's going to work with people. He's going to work with the Congress. He's going to work with both the political parties. He's going to work with business. He's going to work with labor. He's going to work with our allies overseas. He's also a very tough person. He's no pushover. He's going to stand up for America. He's going to also put America first in the sense, not in the best sense of the term. That is, build up our infrastructure, build up jobs in America, also address climate change. And in the meantime, he's going to certainly address the coronavirus pandemic. He's going to do what it takes. It's going to be a really tough job. We've got huge issues here at home as well as worldwide. But he's up to the challenge. He really cares. He's going to be a very good president facing a very difficult situation.
Former Ambassador and former Senator Max Baucus, thank you so much for your time, sir. Really appreciate it.
You bet. You bet.